who has worked in the Ministry of Education in Jamaica for over 15 years. And he's now working with the government of Nunavut. Is that how you say that? Yeah, Nunavut, in the Department of Education in Canada, actually. And after spending 5 years working in, with international volunteer groups, he, as actually a hobby in Jamaica, decided to co-start his own nonprofit that works specifically with international volunteer groups, which led to the formation of the Jamaica Lacrosse Association. So he started JLA, which is, and has really spearheaded it to kind of where it is now with the help of some really awesome other volunteers and staff, passionate people along the way that have really kind of made it what it is up until this point. He studied primary education and has a master's in educational administration, a bachelor's in school leadership and management, and is certified in nonprofit leadership and green business management. So if you need some training or you need some information, Calvert is qualified, beyond all means. And so what I'm really excited to hear about is the success that JLA has had in creating inter-school competition, which I think is what a lot of us are really kind of trying to get at. And so I'm curious, how did JLA create your inter-school competition league? And what are some of those key elements that have made it so successful?
All right, first I want to thank you for that introduction. And I want to mention that listening to all the panelists, we realize that there are a lot of commonalities with the issues and the challenges and the success that we experience within our respective countries and region. And just to give a little context to Jamaica Lacrosse, and I'm happy to see Bob DeMarco in the building. When Kevin Dugan, who was a development officer for the Federation of International Lacrosse, as it was called, came to Jamaica, the first two names that we were exposed to was the late Tom Hayes and Bob DeMarco. All right, so we have to pay respect to Kevin Dugan and those who chartered him with the responsibility of getting it started within Jamaica and other parts of the world. Right. I'll put it out there, and this is a question we get all the time. Did you play lacrosse? No. None of us who have worked with the management of Jamaica Lacrosse have never played lacrosse before, and honestly, I have no intention of learning it because I guess I'm a bit too old for that right now. I leave it to the younger kids.
Albert, were you ever on a bobsled?
A good friend of mine who taught at the first elementary school that took on lacrosse was a member of the first bobsled team, and that was Ricky McIntosh, and he's still there right now. Just to outline some of the elements that contributed to the success of Jamaica Lacrosse within the inter-school competition, I want to outline the composition of our board. We were very deliberate with those who made up our board. We have a school principal as a board member. With that background knowledge, the intricacy of how the education system operates, that allow us to include that unique voice within our decision-making process. We have Dwight Clark, who is here today, and our vice president. He's an old boy of one of those traditional high school. He's in finance, IT, and he has been one of those key figures on our board that allow us to make the right decision. We have our general secretary, who is in insurance and is a member of one of those traditional high school that is now on board with us, and she helps to keep us on track. We have another board member who is also within finance and a member of one of those traditional high school, and most importantly, we have a past student of one of those high school who is our legal counsel on our board. So we try to get all the right voices on our board, so when we're making decisions, we cover as many grounds as possible. All right, we don't always make the right decision, but at least we get close to that. So the composition of our board help us to plan. And if you see on that diagram, planning is a crucial part of the success of our competitions. We have a purpose, and with that purpose we have multiple goals that have been identified, and one of those goals within the set of goals that we have focus specifically on high school competition. And not just high school competition, but school competitions in general. Now for each of those goals, and that goal in particular, we have a number of strategies that we will apply. And for those strategies, we have tasks outlined for various members of our board, because we don't have any paid staff. So our board is a working board. And for every strategies that we have that is aligned to the goal, we have board members who are responsible for carrying out those. So that we have the principal on our board. One of his tasks would be to communicate with other principals, reach out with other principals so that they can buy into our purpose and our vision. So the composition of our board allowed us to make, to plan. Now, with that planning, we were able to identify our stakeholder groups. So we have our beneficiaries and we have our recipients. We know that the students are those who are going to serve within these schools, but we have the administrators within these schools that we had to contact. Another key stakeholder that we had to get involved was our Parent Teachers Association, because the schools ensure that their voices are included within their decision-making process. So if we can get to the parents, then they can advocate on our behalf, and that's what took place. We got the parents involved, and they were able to lobby some of these schools to ensure that lacrosse is included, right? Because they want the opportunity for their children, both boys and girls. So we also included Past Students Association. These are old boys and old girls of these educational institutions. They have a strong voice on these school boards, and they have a sense of pride whenever their school take part in competitions, and they're able to boast to their friends and other schools, because there's a strong rivalry between schools within Jamaica. So the Old Boys and Girls Association played an integral role in our success. Now, I have on that slide religious education institutions, religious institution. Now, there are a lot of schools in Jamaica that are church-run schools, and this is why that is there. Recently, we reached out to the Archdiocese of Kingston, and the Director of Educational Institution for that region gave the go-ahead to communicate with all the elementary and prep school in that region when it's time for us to include lacrosse in the elementary school. So that is in the pipeline. And this is how we get the religious institutions involved, because they are in charge of these schools. Now, I'll move from stakeholder engagement, and we can talk more about positioning. Now, I have a map on the board, and that is a map of the downtown Kingston area. Now, those red stars that you see, those represents schools, traditional high schools that has a strong presence in Jamaica. Strong, they're very competitive when it comes on to sports. You have St. George's College, that is at one of them, Kingston College, that is at the other. You have Alpha, and you also have a non-traditional high school that is there, Holy Trinity. The reason for that is having the schools in close proximity. When we introduce our competition, now it will rule out traveling for them. They can have easy access to each other when we're having competition. So the team will come together and they will walk over to the other school and they'll play. The other team will do the same, walk over. And with that in place, we were able to get content without having much stress on the administration of that school in terms of transportation and all of that. So, and with the limited resources we have in the country, we had to do that. We couldn't start big. So it was important for us to start really small in a very, geographic area, which we did, and that helped to propel the image of lacrosse. So we collected the content from these competitions, and we're able now to brand and market lacrosse. Hey, we have some of the top traditional schools playing lacrosse now. It's an in thing. All the schools wanted to come on board now. And as we did that, we gradually increased the schools, not far out, but further within that circle. So we went out to Wilma's school, boys and girls, then we went out to St. Hugh's, and we went on to all the other schools within that area. Now we are concentrated within Kingston and St. Andrew, and we have schools in all the other parishes just knocking at our doors wanting to get lacrosse. But again, the challenge that we face is to get enough equipment in on time, free of cost, to get it out to them. All right, now moving on from social media and branding, partnership played an integral role. I heard mention of getting PE teachers involved. What we did in Jamaica, and we recently made it official, which we have the only physical education institution, tertiary institution in the Caribbean, offering lacrosse as an elective in their curriculum right now, with the hope of making it a standalone course. Right? So all the physical education teachers coming out of that institution will have the foundation and the basic skill sets to take on lacrosse within schools. And we're going to need that because, of the rate of growth right now. So that will enable us to provide capacity building for coaches and officials as we scale the program within the school. So these are just some of the elements that have helped us to get lacrosse to where it is right now in Jamaica. And they're in no specific order, and there is more to it, but I just want to stop at that before moving on to the next question that you might have.
Perfect. So yeah, and I actually have a question for you and kind of also Javian in general, but I will also ask that at the end. Now we'll wait for my own Q&A.
Right now, competing in the league. We have 19 teams, 15 schools.
That's incredible.
Pretty awesome.
Can I also ask
I told you my panel is really cool. I put together some really
what
awesome
discipline
panels.
of lacrosse are you teaching in your inter-school competition?
Well, we started out with something similar to the sixes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
Okay.
So we also,
Yeah.
none of what we do is full field.
Yeah.
It's mostly 5-on-5 on like a
Yes.
basketball court.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have
we
gone
play
back,
small sided.
but we have gone back to full field now.
Full field, no, right.
Yes.
Ah,
Well, now because you have enough
Okay.
players.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. It takes time. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, always go small sided. Small sided. I mean, the fact that it took so long to get sixes officially recognized, I'm so happy about it because it's the easiest way to grow.
Oh, yeah.
The easiest way to grow.